Hi, I'm Bob Ryan, and I love Grandstanders.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, Russ Stevens on my left and Uncle Joe McLaughlin on my right. Well, Rome is burning, boys. What a week. Well, actually, what a 24 hours in sports. We now have the Patriots helmet has made an appearance here, a special appearance. Guys, I want to tell you a little story. Used to be in the holidays, every year, my uncle would come, and the moment he'd walk in, he'd announce to everyone that his rash had returned and that it had doubled in size. Well, let me tell you, Uncle Irv, your rash has returned, and it's called Deflategate. Guys, they have come with the Wells Report, and guys, how much did the Wells Report cost? What do you think? $30-40 million maybe?
Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
these guys are all on retainer, but
A lot of money, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the men behaving badly this week is one, Tom Brady, our God, our man, has pretty much been culpable to this whole Deflategate. So Russ, I ask you, you have the notes, you've studied it. Tell me what your opinion is of the Wells Report.
Well, what was interesting was I was ready to go, right? There was a little bit of a blip earlier in the week that this thing was going to be, there would be no finding, that they'd had nothing, that the NFL had nothing on us. And I was ready to roll. I was ready to I was taking names.
Yeah.
I was going to target commentators. I was going to write emails back to my friends.
Trent Dilfer.
And then I read the report. And there's no other conclusion that you can reach reading that executive summary that he got caught red-handed.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady got caught red-handed.
Right. It does look bad for Tom in many levels, right? I mean,
and it looks like he tried to cover it up too, for whatever reason. And so he's caught with, not just caught with his hand in the cookie jar, he's caught lying about it.
and it's like a bad Jim Carrey movie, right? It's Dumb and Dumber. So Tom Brady, the star, right, he gets involved with Dumb and Dumber, this equipment manager, McAnally, and a guy named Yastrzemski.
Oh, I know. But the J is not pronounced.
Right, but nobody's worried about that. They're thinking, is that a relative of Carl? Right?
Captain Cow.
So he gets into these text messages with him, right, over the course of, now, that's another question I ask. I don't think that the AFC Championship is the first time that he's manipulated balls, right?
Yeah, I think that's really the, how long has this been going on?
Oh, probably 10 years, going back to when the rule changed.
When the rule changed, right.
Right, so this is actually what bothers me the most, because this brings all 31 teams involved in the controversy. Because they say, we've all been injured by the fact that Tom Brady has manipulated the system for years, right? I mean, that's where you can kind of go into, right?
Yes, and look, I'm sure in his mind everyone was doing it, but that's what Lance Armstrong said, right? Like you can't have it both ways. You can't be this sort of God and then drag yourself into what you believe everyone else is doing. Right? That's really where it comes from. That's the source of it.
Even if everyone else is doing it, you're the one that got caught. You're accountable. You got to fess up.
Now, we surprised that Belichick and Kraft truly did not know that what was happening. I mean, because their press conferences seem to be factual now, and Tom Brady's was not factual.
Yeah, what's interesting is, everyone was complaining that, and theorizing that Belichick threw Brady under the bus, right?
Right.
After
Asked
Belichick
Tom.
up there and said, ask Tom. What it looks like now is that Brady might have thrown Belichick under the bus, right? That was the one thing. Now, the only thing I will say in Brady's defense, in terms of that press conference? Because to me, that's the thing that galls me more than anything else.
It's the press
cover-up
conference.
The
Yeah.
cover-up is worse
Right.
than the crime. Whether these guys, everyone's doctoring the balls. Let's just assume that a third of the quarterbacks in the NFL are doctoring the balls in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Either more inflated or less inflated.
Right.
But when your guy gets up there and basically turns into a lying politician before your eyes, parsing words and everything, that's what unnerves you. The thing about it is, however, he was in a position where if he had come up and said the truth at that press conference, he was risking getting suspended for the Super Bowl. Right?
Right.
That was
right.
a potential.
That's a great point. Yeah.
His team would have gone right down the tubes without
So
him.
he was in a tough spot
Yeah.
if he believed and if they believed that he could get suspended for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It sort of it makes you understand it. But yeah, he's getting suspended. So how many games do you think?
I'm hoping 2.
I'm thinking between 2 and 4. And I don't know. I think they're going to really have to come down heavy on him because that's the new agenda. We're not soft on these things.
sure.
2 wasn't enough for Ray Rice. We got to
it's
do more.
You know, when I read it, I sort of thought that, it is a performance-enhancing activity. It's not a PED, it's a PEA,
Yeah.
right? I
Right,
mean, it was
yeah, right.
He did it to
Yeah.
enhance his performance
It's
in the
not
game.
a criminal offense.
It's a 4-game suspension, a PED is.
Yeah.
So somewhere in that 2 to 4 range would seem to make sense, right?
What's the first offense on the PEDs?
4 games.
Is it
If
4?
you get a PED suspension, you're out for 4 games. Period. There's the program is for more recreational drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, does this hurt the legend of Tom Brady at all, or is this one of?
Oh, certainly.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, certainly.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's not going to be like a steroid thing where one strike and he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame. It doesn't work that way in football.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in that class. But you know what? I was thinking about this. You know what it is? It's like I think Gaylord Perry's in the Hall of Fame in baseball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like a spitballer's in the Hall of Fame. To me, it's a spitball offense.
Yeah.
Right.
He was throwing spitballs.
No, I
A
think
little competitive
Right.
advantage, but
No, I think the PED thing. Yeah, he was enhancing, whatever. In some level, he was enhancing himself.
Right.
And by altering the equipment, he was in. But remember,
whether
this
it was psychological or he actually performed better
And it's in
with
the
it.
context of the Patriots, who are believed to be a cheating organization. So if he were playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, right, and he doctored the footballs,
It'd be a fine.
well, he may still get suspended, but I don't think it would affect his legacy so much. But this is just another sort of infected person within a poisonous organization.
But look, NFL thinks of bottom line, and that's going to cost them a lot of money if Tom Brady's not playing the first 4 games and ratings and all these other things. They're going to have to explain to their sponsors that Tom Brady's not playing game 3. So they always think bottom line too.
Could be.
So, and the 31 owners, other than Kraft, lose money too. So maybe 2. Now, what do the Patriots get?
What do you mean, what do the
What do the
Patriots
Patriots get penalty-wise?
They're
I don't
equipment
know.
people.
Well, no, they'll get fined. What the Patriots get is their starting quarterback is suspended for 2 or 3 or 4 games.
Do they
right?
also lose a draft pick,
No,
though?
I doubt it. I think that report was so careful about saying more probable than not that Brady was generally aware.
Right.
Didn't seem to be. The executive summary said they do not believe that Kraft or Belichick or anyone else in the organization was aware of it. So I think they'll end up punishing Brady. I doubt the Patriots will get they may get fined, but
Do you think this fractures the relationship between Belichick and Brady in some level?
I was starting to think, I was thinking earlier that, you always look for the beginning of the end, right?
Right,
You always
yeah.
look for what was the
Right.
thing that tipped this thing,
Yeah.
that set it on a path. And you do wonder whether, Kraft and Belichick are now having to deal with this. And this is supposed to be the guy who makes things better, who takes things off of their plate, and he just plopped a steamer on their plate and said, you got to deal with this.
Great point. And remember, Brady is employee number 12. They've never catered to him personnel-wise. Oh, you like Wes Welker? Well, we don't like Wes Welker.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And they've done this across the
You
line
don't
with
like
him.
Danny Amendola? Well, tough.
Yeah,
He's
right.
staying.
Right.
Oh, we don't feel like drafting any wide receivers that you're comfortable with. You just deal with who we send out there, right? So they've really never catered to him that way. Not like if he was in the NBA, Tom Brady would be naming the rest of his roster, right?
Right.
So I think the relationship could go south quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that Tom Brady out the door is going to be when they decide Tom Brady's out the door. No
they don't seem to have the personnel right now to be able to do that. They have Garoppolo and no one else. Obviously, they're going to have to get another backup quarterback in a hurry.
Look, it's not going to happen this year, but I think we may look back within about 2 or 3
This
years.
was the
and
beginning
say,
of the end.
This is where the thing just started kind of going downhill. We got the fourth one. That's the one that everyone wanted.
Yeah, this was the
right?
important one.
This was the important one.
Yeah.
Anything else on top of this is pure gravy. And at some point in time, getting that fourth one, I actually think it makes it easier to move on from Brady.
And the next step will be watch the real estate market if Giselle and Tom put the
Right.
house on the
Yeah,
market.
in the house in Brookline, right? Exactly. Yeah, he's a resident. Maybe he's watching tonight. But I did want to talk about the draft a little bit because actually, that happened,
Right.
and that was it wasn't fun though, right? I mean, did you enjoy watching the draft?
We've been so sort of beaten down by the draft over the years that I was completely shocked that they made that 32nd pick.
Yeah,
completely
right.
shocked.
Yeah, right.
Because there were some reports on Twitter that, because I was
They were
following
trading
on
with
Twitter,
Houston.
that they were trading with Houston, and I was like, oh, I almost shut it off. And then I think the guy dropped, and they pulled the trade back.
So we got a big fatty
Yeah.
in Malcolm Butler.
Yeah.
But Malcolm Brown, right? I'm not going to make that mistake. Malcolm Brown. Apparently, one of these things, he went later on that they thought he would. He's a run stuffer. Sounds like a good pick. Sounds like a guy you could plug in for the next 10 years, and
Made sense.
he'll do well.
It made sense.
They did everything I asked for. Backup, depth, linebacker depth, interior defensive line, interior offensive
Pass
line.
rushers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything I asked for, but I still was left with like a feeling of, Jesus, it wasn't a very
Well,
exciting draft,
Well, offensive guards are not exciting.
No.
You're right.
Defensive
Right.
tackles are not
Look,
exciting.
Here's the thing. We're all wound up during this draft, right? If
Yeah.
I asked you now, name their first 6 picks, you'd maybe
Yeah.
name 3 of them.
Yeah.
They got guys named Trey. They got guys like this guy,
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm
The
Brown.
kid from Stanford was in the second round.
by the time
Yeah.
training camp rolls around,
Trey
you'll
Flowers,
be reading these
yeah.
names and have no recollection that they were draft picks.
Yeah,
Unless
right.
it's followed
The guy
with
with
6th
only-
round draft pick, blankety
Yeah.
blank.
The guy
or
that's
3rd round
blind in
draft
one
pick.
eye there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they have a guy who's blind in one eye. I know. Oh. Yeah. God bless him.
Belichick.
Yeah,
You
right.
Got to have your head on a swivel,
Yeah.
that's for
And
sure.
a long snapper.
So the Red Sox. Okay, we have to
Lord.
talk about them.
Painful.
13 and 15 record.
I
Kind of
think it's
pathetic.
the same record that Bobby V had, by the way, in 2000, whatever. I've now.
John
blanked that year
Farrell
out.
is boring, and his team is boring right now.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I'm-
His team being boring is not fair. I mean, the fact they're not hitting is not Farrell's fault, right?
Well, he's the one playing Napoli every night, no matter what.
Who's he going to put in there? Daniel
Daniel
Craig,
Nava,
Alan Craig,
who's hitting
Daniel
even worse.
Nava. He's, I suppose he could move guys around, but he doesn't even have Hanley to play with anymore.
Well, they fired Juan Nieves today, the pitching coach.
That,
So-
that kind of shocked me, though. I thought, he'd at least last.
Well, we happened to be at the game last night together, and I turned to you guys and I said, "Don't we have 2 pitching coaches in the dugout?"
Yeah.
Right.
I remember you saying
So
that.
how do these? How is start after start after start? You're reading. Well, he didn't really have a good game plan. He wasn't. He wasn't pitching inside. You said last
Yeah.
night, Joe.
Not
These guys aren't
attacking.
pitching inside.
Right.
We have not only 1 pitching coach in the dugout. We have 2, and so one of them had to go.
All right, one of them went, and you know
he's
my
just-
crazy.
He's been chomping at the bit to get this one in.
The clock has
The
started.
clock has started. Yes. I said this in past shows. What did I
Crazy
say?
town. Crazy
What did
town.
I say?
That
You
Farrell
thought
we
John
got
Farrell
I'm
was
listening, I'm
manager
listening.
For life,
Yeah.
right?
and Veritek will be
No.
his replacement.
Brian Butterfield will replace John Farrell in the next 50 games. He will finish the season. The next manager of the Red Sox for 2016 will be Jason Veritek.
If that happens,
Take it to the bank, guys.
We're going to need to buy you something.
Buy me something.
Special, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've said that a few times.
Yeah, that might be good for the pitching staff, though, to have a catcher there to whip him into shape.
Things have gone south. I knew they would. They were 9-6 because we took last week off.
And doing it with mirrors.
Right, mirrors. People making errors and stuff. Now they're going along.
Now they've
road
got
trip.
injuries. Now we
But
said
Hanley's
earlier-
supposed to be going on this trip
right.
with them.
We said earlier with respect to the pitching rotation, give these guys about 5-6 times through. It's pretty clear now. We have 2
Couple of
pitchers,
losers.
right? We have
Yeah.
Porcello and kind of Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
And the rest of them doesn't look like it's going to pan out very well, right?
Edwin Mojica was DFA'd today.
Right.
So the Mojica era is over.
Yeah, it's amazing.
$9 million, and we got literally no production out of him.
Zero. Just
Zero.
losses.
Yeah.
And why do we ever acquire guys from the St. Louis Cardinals when we should realize that the St.
They
Louis
know more
Cardinals
than we do.
know what we're doing, right?
Yep.
That's true.
They are the Patriots of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, we still may have got Joe Kelly still may be a fine. If Joe Kelly
Yeah.
figures out how to pitch, that trade is worth. I mean, look, that
Oh,
trade
yeah.
is worthwhile.
Yeah,
if Joe
We
Kelly knows
actually
how to
traded
draft.
for Alan Craig, but Joe Kelly might end up being the bonus.
The book isn't closed in that trade yet. Schilling just
Yeah.
went to town on these. Has been going to town on these guys on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
On the pitch.
Well,
game
they've been
plan
terrible.
pitching.
You know, there's no
They're the
no
worst.
excuse for Buckholz.
They're the worst starting rotation in
Yeah.
Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I asked the boys, who's next? I've got a list. Craig.
Get rid of
Nava.
him.
Craig.
Get rid of him.
Well, how long does he stay?
Oh, they give him about 25 more at bats, and then he'll be cut.
He'll be cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat that
You
money.
have to.
Right.
My favorite player of all time, Daniel Nava. How long? He's 0 for 18.
He's got a lifetime contract. He's like a Supreme Court justice.
He has pictures of everyone, right?
He's cheap and he's a fan favorite, so he fills a role for them.
He's versatile.
Yeah.
Wally's a fan favorite, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't even. You see, he said that. Who is
Well, you don't like Brock Holt either.
Yeah.
people? No, I don't. But I don't even know where you got the hope. Where does he get the Daniel Nava's a fan favorite? I don't even understand
He
that.
is.
He's a nice man.
They're not chanting boo.
No,
they're chanting
no,
Nava.
no.
Come
Look,
on.
We're going to start to. You'll see some of
Oh
these
my
veterans.
gosh,
These
come
veterans
on.
will be paired off, right? Craig and Nava. They'll get Castillo up.
Yeah.
They'll give Victorino a chance when he comes back to see if they catch a little bit of
'cause
lightning in the
they've got a
bottle.
big investment in
right?
him
Maybe
still.
trade him.
Right, yeah, maybe.
But that's
yeah.
what'll happen. I mean,
Right.
they'll bring Bradley, they'll bring Victorino back and
Yeah.
Castillo, and start to maneuver some guys around doing that. The big question is, to your point, is when do they start sloughing off these pitchers?
And they could put Hanley
When
at
do they-
first
Right.
base.
Yeah, I maybe.
Get him
that's-
out of left field. I don't
maybe.
think it's a good idea.
Napoli's the last one to go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he should be.
He
among
has
the
come
first.
out of these
right,
slumps
that was my
before.
But he's
next
among
question.
He's going to be probably the last one to go of that group.
Yeah, right.
Craig, Nava will be gone. Victorino may be gone before Napoli, right?
Yeah.
Because, by the way, none of these guys have played. Like, we sit here and say, put Hanley at first, but what do we know? I mean, he should be able to play first better than he's playing left field, but Napoli at least plays first base. He may get himself untracked. He's always been a little streaky. But the rest of these guys.
But the panic button has been pressed, right? You know, you
In
did.
my house, yes, it has been present.
No, but you fire the pitching coach.
Yeah.
You designate for assignment a guy you owe like $4 million.
Right.
Right. It's begun.
Yes, and the big question is, what do they start? What do they do about the starting pitching? Do they think they're
Do they
in
improve it?
If they think they're in it, they go out and get a first or a second starter. If they don't think they're in it,
Yeah.
Brian Johnson comes up.
Yeah.
They get Rodriguez comes up. They maybe even give Owens, 10 starts at the end of the year,
Yeah.
and you're working these guys into the major league team.
Now, did Justin Masterson get Nieves fired last night? Because he was pathetic. He was absolutely pathetic.
Oh, but,
I mean, was
to
that
me,
the final
to me,
straw?
This was an obvious outcome of the Masterson decision. Was what we're getting, right?
Right.
That was the risk. The Buchholz thing is the thing that just angers
That's
me.
what makes me sick to my stomach. Now, everyone knows that I have a very poor opinion of Mr. Schilling, but he's right on in his analysis of Buchholz.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He is dead on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, how much longer do we deal with Clay, right? I mean, how many more starts before Clay's gone? I mean, we literally could gut this team
I don't
by
think
July,
they owe
right?
him anything after this year.
No,
I think it's all
they
team
will-
options
they
after
will-
this year.
The prudent thing to do would be to give him 5 more starts, hope that he has 3 good starts out of 5, and at least be able to trade him. The only thing in their favor on Buchholz is he's a classic change of scenery guy. Right, he's a classic guy where
No, I
some
agree
other
with you.
team
Yeah, you did
talks
right.
themselves into.
Yeah.
He's got a live arm. He's
Yeah.
not injured. He knows how to pitch. He just needs a change of scenery, and
Yeah.
he's only going to cost us. We have options for like
Oh, a
12,
place like
13 million,
Atlanta would be
12,
nice for
13
him.
million
Yeah,
dollars
right,
a year
right,
for
right.
3 years as options.
Yeah.
The Astros, if they really want to make a run. So you
Yeah.
might be able to get a single A prospect for Buchholz if he can get himself slightly on track.
I think he'd be
Masterson's-
fine in the National
Masterson's
League.
going to end up in the bullpen.
Yeah.
He's
I
gonna
don't know.
end up
An
in the
85
bullpen.
mile an hour fastball. Yeah,
He'll end up
you
in the
know.
bullpen for a while. Maybe they see if they get something there. And Miley, I think you're just stuck with. They've just too much money in on Miley.
Yeah.
Why has it gone ugly so quickly. I mean, it really looks ugly.
Poor starting pitching will do it to you every time.
Right.
But, I mean, so that's on Cherrington, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is just terrible.
Yeah, it's badly designed.
Plan A is very bad plan.
You know, we had that conversation, I think the day they signed Porcello, right, where we had that conversation about them all being ground ball pitchers.
Yeah, right.
The problem that we're learning is ground ball pitchers, the ball's in play a lot. The ball, you know, whether in the air or on the ground, and they're just not striking anybody out. Like, you just don't see us shutting teams down for 3 or 4 innings.
They're using too many pitches to get to the 5th inning.
Right. I mean,
And they don't have any strikeout pitchers in the relief corps either.
Really not in the relief corps either. That's exactly right. Ogando is the only guy who you see his stuff and you're like, whoa. And Kelly, you see their stuff and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Those guys
Porcello's
throw
had
hard.
quite a few strikeouts his last couple
even
times.
still, he's not a shutdown. Like,
No,
you're not
no, he's
getting
not a
hit
power
for 3
pitcher.
innings, right?
Yeah. And we're used to some shutdown guys.
We've had shutdown guys.
We've been spoiled.
Yes, we have.
Now, I have a dream.
Oh, boy.
And the dream for the Red Sox is my outfield is Castillo in left, Jackie Bradley in center, and Mookie Betts in right. Now, will Mr. Brian Butterfield be the one who has to put that lineup card in? Or
That's
will
Ben
that
Cherington's
happen
call.
in the next 20 to 30 games? Because to me, that looks like the clear and evident starting outfield moving forward.
So you're display. Yeah, I mean, that certainly could be it, right? I mean, you're giving up on Victorino. And,
I've given up
well,
on him.
The big question, well, they would have to move Hanley into the
Yeah, to
infield.
first base.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're going to do
But
that.
that might be the outfield and infield of the future.
Right.
A year or two down the
Sandoval,
line.
to me, may make more sense. Well, I don't know.
Sandoval
or
might make
Ramirez
more sense going to DH when
at
Ortiz shuffles
Sure.
off this mortal coil, you know?
But in this year, I'm not sure we'll see that outfield. I mean, we may see it every once in a while. Certainly defensive replacement outfield. You could see that in innings 7 through 9 a lot.
I'm happier with Bradley as a late inning defensive specialist.
Well, boys, I have Armenian blood in me, and they're gypsies.
Yeah.
And so we can look into the future. So I have looked into
What's
the
your
future. And the future is that we must look into the future. Okay? This season.
So my question
The
to you guys,
future is now.
do you guys
No,
see
the
any
future
way-
is
do
next
you
year.
guys see any way that they can compete for the AL East this year?
No, there are too many holes.
Not as presently constituted with that
But
starting pitching.
what if within the next 30 days they add a legit number 2, number 1 starter?
Hope springs eternal over
See,
here.
No,
the
no,
reason
no,
why
no,
I
no,
think
no.
that they can compete is there's no good team. I mean, the Yankees aren't any good. They're playing well, but they're really not. You take a look at that lineup; they're not that good. Red Sox could win 17 out of 20 games and end up being 3 games up. They just need to put together that run.
Russ is such a positive man.
No, I'm not.
Look,
I mean,
look, we have, nobody talks, but we have serious problems at catcher. Serious problems. We have a guy who probably should be in Double-A who is starting for us. We really don't have a backup catcher, okay?
Right.
So now you go up the middle. My boy Xander, okay, he's a nice player, but he definitely needs more.
Wait, write this down.
Superstar
He's
has
a nice
been
player.
downgraded.
He's a nice player right now, but he, this year, is not going to put up big numbers.
When is he going to put up big numbers? This is like the year 4.
He's in the
year 4 of
sophomore
the Xander
slump.
Bogaerts
Sophomore
experiment.
slump.
What's going on here?
He's like 16 years old. What are you talking about? Come on, seriously. We have
He's
to.
still smarting from the change of position last
Yeah.
year. There's a real hangover
yeah,
from,
yeah.
they asked him to move to third base for a couple of days.
But we're so young, guys. Come on. Let's just got the team, put the young
we
guys
tried that
in there.
last year. You
And
and
it
I
was a
admitted
disaster.
to each other
It was a
that we thought we
disaster.
were better men. I cannot watch a disaster
No,
again.
no. But
I
that-
want them. I would say, go get me a good starting pitcher, and at least give us a shot at competing this year.
Last year they put up a AAA team down the stretch. The last 3 months of the season was
I
a
can't look
AAA
at that
team.
again.
It was awful.
I can't look at it again.
Guys, it doesn't really matter. We're so far away. There's not one guy
Who let
who's
the
going to
Grim
change.
Reaper into the room
What are they,
today?
2 games under 500? They can.
Have you watched this team?
A good road trip and all of a sudden-
No, Joe. Come on, 28 games. Have you watched them? Seriously, I can't even remember one good win. This team has been terrible the whole season.
I think I would not be surprised if they made a sort of a late May run. They're a few games over 500, and we're still in it. Just relax. It's going to be okay. Hanley's going to come back. Ortiz will snap out of it. Pedroia's, we've got some.
Napoli's got to get a hit one of these days.
Oh,
He got a hit last night. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I met Juan Nieves, the pitching coach that they just fired. He's a very, very nice man. There's going to be some problems in that locker room because they just fired him. You can bet. He's Spanish. He's very nice. I'm telling you stuff. Things have gone south on that team.
This is all, he's just trying to make a case to get Farrell fired. He's hoping Lucchino's watching, so.
Absolutely, I want Farrell fired. I've been saying that.
I've come, I wanted Farrell hired in the worst way back when. But now I'm coming around his way of thinking. I really don't like the
Oh, no. He didn't win that World Series. I wanted to fire him after when he butchered, game 1 of the World Series? No, game 2 of the World Series. Right?
He didn't know the rules.
Game 3. Yeah. Right.
But you got to give him credit. He put Xander in the lineup. That was a gutsy move.
And he got rid of Salty, and he got rid of
He put Salty on the bench, and he moves Middlebrooks out of the lineup. Those are good. Those were.
They had to be done though.
Key moves.
Hey, Salty's available.
Oh Lord, no. He's better
exactly
than what we don't need.
Leon Ponce de Leon.
I know, but we don't. Everyone wanted Swihart. This is what we got. So let's take a look at him.
He's got a pretty leaky glove, I got to say. There must be a half dozen that get away from him every game.
Well, guys, to end the show, I got a little crazy talk.
Oh boy!
I tell you something.
The rest of it wasn't.
We were at that. I go to every game, and we were at that game last night. Right, very painful to watch. And I've decided, high school baseball in Massachusetts has switched from 9 innings to 7 innings, and nobody's complaining, kids. I know it's probably not going to happen in our lifetime, but Major League Baseball should consider, my theory, to go to 7 innings. What do you think?
Well, the record book has already been partially obliterated by PEDs. The biggest argument against that is obviously
money.
Well,
all that advertising gone to waste.
You have some lost advertising, and what are you going to do with the records? But the record book has been sort of compromised anyways. So your biggest. So what do they do? If they go to 7, do they add another commercial break?
That's millions and millions of dollars. You're right. If they go to 7, they'd have to add an extra.
They'd have to add.
Be like the NBA or the NFL.
Probably wouldn't cut that much time off the
commercial timeouts.
Right. Yeah, they'd cut a lot of time off. That's the least of my worries is their commercial breaks.
Well, it's the least of your worries, but it's not the least of Rob Manfred's
Look, we are the demographic.
Major League Baseball is worried about the bottom line, believe me.
Boys, we're the demographic for Major League Baseball, and let's be honest.
It's getting tough to watch.
It's getting tough to watch 7 innings, right? And it's got to stop, right?
I like the clock between innings.
Look, as you said though last night, the night before you'd seen a 2.5-hour game, they just need to keep speeding this game up. To be honest with you, the worst thing is the pitching changes. I would be strongly in favor of limited pitching changes during the course of a game.
2 to an inning?
Like you within, not during the course of a game, but 2 to, like last night, I think Farrell used 3 guys in an inning, 4 guys in an inning.
And Joe Madden will do a half dozen if he has to.
The game just grinds to a halt. It's unwatchable at that point in time.
I can only imagine what he's like in the National League.
Who, Farrell?
Joe Madden. Joe Madden.
Oh,
must be a.
But you got to do something. Seriously.
Well, they're trying to do something without shortening. But look, by the way, they might get to a radical decision.
But your 2.5-hour game had the Red Sox being no hit until the 6th inning.
Sure.
That's true. And it was still 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And quickly, I know we have to finish up, but instant replay. Do you like it right now in Major League Baseball? No.
No, and the Red Sox were successful last night.
I want everything instant replayed in football, and I want almost nothing instant replayed in baseball.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. But we'll talk about that next show because that was quick.
Yeah.
All right, that was another episode of the Grandstanders. I want to thank everyone behind the scenes. I want to thank, of course, Russ Stevens and Uncle Joe McLaughlin. My name is Scott Kerman. Have a great night.